when we talk about holism, we have to include our spirit and our soul. And so when we talk about closing the gap, many of you who know me know that I'm very cautious about that term, because when it's applied to Aboriginal learners, because for us, does closing the gap mean the final nail on our assimilation? Because unless schools truly are reflective of the knowledge systems of people who attend those schools, that's what it will mean. Because the way that we assess, the way that we count people's success often means that I have to be a learner of a very specific kind. One of my master's students recently defended her thesis. We have, she's a part of a cohort, and John Lyle, are you still here, John? John Lyle, who was here earlier, was a part of that group. We were looking at why Aboriginal students in this province are underrepresented in science, in the hard sciences. Most of Aboriginal graduates graduate with a science that's in environmental science or computer science. Very few of our graduates graduate with a senior science in biology, chemistry, or physics. And yet, our people need those sciences in order to be able to have options. So we set about 7 years ago looking at this. And so we organized it so that master's students would be doing the research. Well, we've finally graduated our last student, and she floored us, I think, with the beauty of her work. What she did was to look at students who were successful in science. And successful in science meant that you maintained a 67% or higher in biology, physics, and chemistry. So she spent quite a lot of time with this group of students that she selected. And one of the things that she found is that the students were actually very distant from their indigenous roots. And what was very, very, I don't know what to think about this, but what she found in the end was, as she asked her questions and awakened their need to know about their heritage, and as students gained more experience in getting in touch with who they are, they let go of science. They made a decision to not pursue their study of science. I mean, this is not what I was looking for. But it's really important. And I know that scientists, and I've spent time with indigenous people who've pursued science. And one of the things that they have to overcome is a reconciliation between the indigenous world and the world of science. And it's a long and hard struggle. And so as you begin your journey in doing what you said you're going to do, which is to bring indigenous knowledge into your classrooms for all students, one of the areas that you're going to need to do is to know how do you become a bridge? How do you reconcile values that clash with one another? It's not easy, but if we do believe that we live in a country that can respect and honor and value all of its citizens, that's the work we need to do as teachers, as educators. When I was working with, when I began these courses on indigenous knowledge, an important part of the courses was to bring communities together, the student community, the faculty, the university community, and the indigenous communities on whose land we exist. And I remember inviting people to come to the final celebration. I've been around for a long time, and part of the struggle for our rights in this country, for our visibility in this country, for the acknowledgement of our existence in this country, and so people came who were part of it, who've been long time fighters for this. And I watched them that evening. They came in, they were very kind to me. They were there to support me. And the work that I was trying to do, they acknowledged and recognized my efforts in their way. But they sat back and they just said, show me. Show me that what you're doing, it can be understood and it can be valued by this community, this academic community. And so they were very polite. But as the evening went on, as the students who were involved in organizing the evening, they'd planned everything so beautifully. I could see that they were changing, and that they could see that there was optimism, that they could hope, that they could see that something positive was happening, and that there was a possibility that our world could coexist with the academic world. And I'll never forget that evening, because for our people who've been fighting for so long in this country, to have a place where they can continue to hope is really, really significant in the work that we do as educators. Education I think, has been, and I've said this many times before, it has been the battleground from the very beginning. It continues to be, and that's why we don't trust a term, many of us anyway, a term like closing the gap. Because unless schools can be places where children can value their own identity as Indigenous people, where they can walk in schools and in classrooms and feel that they don't need to hide who they are. We're in the work of continuing to assimilate.